Good morning. Hello, everyone. Here we go again with where we left off with the manganese, and where there's causation, all you find is evidence. So we left off with the question, what's happened to our manganese? Are we low in manganese? What happens when manganese translate in an aqueous environment, as in our cell, to split oxygen out of water molecules out of necessity during hypoxic episodes? What happens to that manganese? What a transition metal this manganese is. Really quite amazing. So indeed, manganese is stripped out of our water. It's taken out of our water supply. It's filtered out. I wasn't quite sure what they used to filter it, but there it was. And it reminded me of a friend of mine who is in York County in near Williamsburg in the eastern side of Virginia. They have I think they have 70 plus cases, not much, of COVID. It's a big area. This is York County. And my friend Sulu, I'll call her, lives there. And she's a beautiful home, beautiful property, horses, nature, all of this stuff. But in her washroom, in her bathroom, I noticed there was brown collected from the at the bottom of the bathtub, basically. And I'm like, ooh, that's not so good. But well, that is unfiltered water. That is natural occurring water. And so there's really low cases there. I don't know what the population is, but it's very, very, very low. And so there is increased manganese, because this is a symptom of manganese-laced water. Hey, Harvey, come. Treat. Manganese plus in water creates, and it will turn brown. It will turn things on a brownish color. So that's just a very interesting correlation in York County, Virginia, where there's clear evidence of manganese that is in the water and a very, very low caseload of corona CV-19. So that's that. So indeed, our drinking water is filtered to lower manganese in the water so that it stays clear. We have purified it. We've talked about that. And so perhaps our manganese levels are too low. And that gives another reason for the virus to move in and take us down. So there's the drinking water. Where there's causation, all I find is evidence. I looked it up and I found the evidence. Not only did I find the evidence of it being filtered out so that we have perfectly clean water. Oh, clean water. If there's manganese in the water and it sits for a couple of days, it will turn a brownish color, from my understanding. And other things happen, but they're not toxic. It's just manganese. So the appearance of clear water includes removing almost maybe all of the manganese. So perhaps we are low manganese because we have flipped our evolution again in the water supply. Okay, so there's the drinking water. So that this is a correlation. This is where there's causation. This is evidence. And this is a York County where there is increased manganese, brown on the ceramics. That's the indicator of manganese. Very low cases. That is a correlation. we have to look further. A lot of these areas of Virginia, out in the mountains, there's plenty of natural drinking water in the mountains, certain areas. Very low cases. Very low cases. We think. Are you with me on that? So let's look at our drinking water and how we've stripped it of manganese. As manganese is the core operative center of this virus. Now, I also did some reading up on different forms of manganese. So early on in our evolution, when there was all this oxygen, right? Previous to the oxygen explosion in our environment due to algae, the cells, I don't even know if they were double bilipid at this point, they used calcium, right? Calcium will trigger a cell. Great. Calcium's great. Nice, gentle, woohoo. Wakey, wakey. We're evolving every moment of every day as we allow it. So calcium will trigger a cell to work. So the science is looking at this manganese. There are several forms of it, and 2, and then 4 and 5, and I think there's simple manganese. But this one actually is a very bioactive. It's easy to work with, really easy to work with, and it works nicely with different elements, especially oxygen. So I'm just starting to read this very complex article, but I will get back to you on that, and I have it here. I'll refer to it in a moment. But the point is that manganese is so it cooperates very well. It also can borrow and help with this calcium channel. So we have in the mitochondria, let's pretend this is a mitochondria, which has a very distinct shape, unless it's COVID. All right, so there's calcium in this mitochondria. So and there's also manganese for emergencies. So when there's oxygen, here's the oxygen, yee, whippy, we're healthy. Calcium comes out. We talked about this. This is the oxygen part of mitochondria. When there's low oxygen, hypoxia, that calcium stays inside. Let's split this thing in half. The calcium stays in, and the manganese, out of the same channel, manganese comes out. And what does manganese do? It splits oxygen out of water and creates the antioxidants, the hydroxy radicals, H2O2, other things. It's pretty complex, but pretty obvious. Where there's causation, all you find is evidence. Pretty obvious there. So we'll get to some of those. It's a good marker, but wow, it sure does leave some mud on the board. Here we go. All right. Okay, so we're not working with this oxygen abundance. So manganese also works very well with oxygen. It splits it, it's dynamic, it's with the add photosynthesis, and we have the energy, ATP, to evolve. So this little single cell that works with calcium has now been housed by the mitochondria, who also have manganese. In fact, what are the origins of the probable, likely, maybe obvious origins of mitochondria? Gallionella, a simple metals-based bacteria. that you find around iron ore mines, iron and manganese, plus water and oxygen, and in the presence of photosynthesis, you have organogenesis. Hey, I'm a poet. That happens sometimes. Organogenesis, photosynthesis. You get origins of life, biogenesis, origins of evolution, our evolution at least, and others as well. So this started with this oxygenated planet. And in that planet was water that turned brown after it sat for a few days. Because it had manganese in it. Because manganese is the second or third most available transition metal on our planet. It's everywhere. Oh my goodness. So the Gallionella, you look at this Gallionella, go take a look at it, and then take a look at our mitochondria. So when there's water around, this Gallionella stays in the kidney bean shape that you see in mitochondria. Right? Whee, water, yay. It keeps its shape. Now, the mitochondria you see online often is the kind that's coming out of a pipe that's near an iron ore mine. There's a mountain up here, and they're like blasting off the top of it and just gouging it out. And if you're looking north, look at Brazil in 2000, leading up to 2015, and their overproduction, and then follow the drinking water up to the northeast Brazil. You see a bunch of microcephaly that's still going on there. So that is where the Gallionella, and they're because they're not surrounded by water. There's just a stream of it, right? The water is coming out in a stream. It's a stream. So the Gallionella is exposed directly to air, and it gets all tangly and kind of like neurofibrillary tangles. I kind of look at that too. It gets all very gangly. But if you look at the outer core of the mitochondria, you'll see this. And if you look at the inner matrix of mitochondria, you'll see this. It's obviously, visually they're connected, and also metabolically and metallurgically they're related too. Obviously so. So this is iron. This is Gallionella is iron, manganese. Yes, iron and manganese. Iron plus manganese. Plus H2O. And that's about it. So it's a metals-based bacteria. This manganese part is can mutate, just like the virus is mutating. The virus can mutate, right? Great. So can manganese. In the double 2+. It's positive strand virus, but it comes from Gallionella. So feel free to look that up and see for yourself and see what you think. Okay. So and then in evolution, glucose, it's hard to hunt and wait for something. You have to wait, be patient. Sometimes you didn't catch anything one day, or food was not delivered to our doorstep. So now we have that. So this has been purified. This has been greatly reduced, our oxygen supply and our need to use it. And this has been exploded availability, right? This is how we evolved. Manganese, yep. So manganese co-localized with the calcium that was leading to cell growth, right? We just got more and more cells. When mitochondria, these two got together, and manganese says, hey, calcium was saying, oh, this is a lot of work, oh, this is a lot of work, oh, this is a lot of work. And manganese says, hey, I'll make all of this work for you. You know, I can enable you to just come in and out of the cell and make it so when things are going well in the mitochondria, calcium's like, when things are tough, as in a low oxygen, I think calcium needs oxygen too. Calcium plus oxygen makes this happen, makes a cell work, but it's not as efficient. Manganese is like, so, okay, so that's, there's a calcium connection with manganese in our evolution, in our origins of life, as it were, in our, evolving to our bada, 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 bing, bada, bada, boom state. Now, we want to keep that. We want to keep bada booming in our evolution. And this virus has moved in on what we have done. What have we done? Glucose. We eat all the time. Back here was every 5 weeks. We're eating every 5 hours. Some of us every 5 minutes. So we're flooding the system with glucose now, which is a cheap substitution for oxygenated fuel. Our water is purified. It's not, it's H2O, but there's no manganese. The manganese is cut out, which is, naturally mixes with water. It's part of water. It's a part of natural water. We've filtered it out. It's been filtered out. So it's not a bad thing. So, golly, maybe we can't live 5 days without manganese. Maybe a little more accurate. I don't know. And then our oxygen, we are very hypoxic. You tell me how much you really breathe as fuel. Tell me how much you breathe each day. I was at the gym yesterday and, I was watching my heart rate, but I wasn't watching my oxygen rate on the machines. But we get our activity kind of artificially. And a lot of it, we're just stressed. I got to go here, got to go there. I had to drive up to Baltimore yesterday morning in a hurricane weather, high flooding advisories. Don't go anywhere unless you have to. Well, I was in a Porsche Cayenne. That's what I drive, and it, it's as stable as anything. And it was, it was going to get me there if anything does anything a Jeep would do. But it was a little stressful getting there. It was about an hour and a half driving. I had to go to an eye doctor. My eyes were dilated afterwards. I had to drive home in it. But, as soon as I got out of there, it was all the stress and the push. It wasn't my oxygenated, I'm at the beach. Wow, isn't this great? I can't wait to make another film this week. It wasn't that mood. It was like, oh gosh, this is, okay, I got to keep my eyes up. And there were accidents there, some pretty serious accidents. The roads had cleared off. There were, it was stressful, a little stressful. So after that, plus the appointment, my thing is I want some of that Royal Farms fried chicken. I got a big old fat piece of fried chicken and also got a candy bar, glycoprotein, oink, oink. All right, and I went to the gym later, but it was not an oxygenated day for me, I'll say. I would say it was a Darwinian type fight the flight. Fight while you're flying. My flight was I'm driving in the rain and I was fighting it, right? I had to win. I had to survive, right? And get there on time, all that stuff. So these are episodes we need to pay attention to. Now, last night I had, it was a, I had to, push through some dreams that were, and I've been taking manganese. I've been taking manganese every day for the most part for months now since the virus started. Because I knew immediately, I'm like, oh my God, manganese will bolster that immune system. So if this thing comes knocking, boom. Plenty of manganese is going to make real strong mitochondria, especially when you're sick. And where there's evidence, where there's causation, all you find is evidence. So I keep finding the evidence in the drinking water. They filter it out. I'm finding more evidence in these varying states of manganese and how they operate with, let's get into this article a little bit now that we're here. I'm trying to look at my time here. Doesn't really give it to me in this StreamYard, but let me look at this. Okay, shedding light on the dark. Let's see. Open reading frames. Oh my goodness. The pairing of this virus with the mitochondria, 5-unit and 3-unit frames. Let me get to that. Come on. Carbonate complex and carbonate complexation. Redox behavior, ligand binding. All right, it gets some interesting language. The manganese 2+ within cells is critical for transport, availability, and oxygen redox. Gosh, it goes on and on. And it also has trace metal ions. Iron 2+, manganese 2+, copper 2+, zinc 2+, and nitrogen 2+, carbon dioxide 2+. Is that right? Anyway, so this goes on and on. It's very complex, beautiful work done by Dasgupta et al., Journal of Physiologic Chemistry, 2008. And National Institute of Health publication. So on and on. But what is very interesting are they start talking about the frequency resonances. See, manganese changes in the different voltage currents. I'm going to read this again. Bicarbonate concentration. Okay, and then they do pulse measurements of these dimeric manganese 2+ clusters. There's a lot of information in this. There's a stability there, constants with potassium. Wow. All right. It all makes sense. But what I wanted to talk to you about was the Hertz spin on these manganese as it activates and deactivates. We talked about this earlier. See, frequency, megahertz. They do quite a bit on the activation of and stimulation in the megahertz. What it did was, we talked about earlier some experiments done where I think it's 171 and 176, where 171 disables the viral RNA, and 176, I believe, disables the ACE2 receptor. Not right. Ay. All right. ACE2 disables the ACE2 receptor in experimental spherical coronavirus studies. Now, this coronavirus is a little They're big. They're big. These the ligands, I believe. All right, I'll get back to you on that one. So I found in this study that manganese is also disabled. So manganese is at the core of this virus. Manganese is the lock that opens the key to let this virus do its thing, especially the cleavage of it. We discussed that in the last session. And so here it is where we are disabling the virus 115 plus or minus 25 is what I'm reading. Parameters. Those are the parameters for the the activation and the up and down of this of manganese. So that is in. So forgive me if I'm get this a little mixed up in the beginning because I'm just getting into these hertz from this paper, and it's plus or minus 25. So we're going up to 30. We're going up to 140 at the top, and we're going down to 90 at the bottom, right? So this is where it kind of works. But if we pop up to 171 or 176, it's not getting into the ACE2 receptor. And it's the viral RNA is not activating. So the thing is that, frequency and disables the activation of manganese within the core of the virus. What else disables activation of this within the core of the virus? This is the easy part. This is the easiest part. Forget the frequency interventions, unless you're sick. And what else deactivates it? Certainly as a preventative triage, manganese. Increasing our manganese. Why? Because our water's been purified and it has taken the manganese out. It's taken it out. This is where we are now. It's out. Back then it was manganese all over this. Our evolutionary source of water. And if you look in the areas, we have to do this now. Where there's causation, all you find is evidence. Look at the areas that don't seem to have manganese. Are they drinking local mountain water? As I recall, all those areas in Virginia that I go out to go on the Shenandoah River and such, they're drinking right from streams and such. I'm sorry, if manganese is the pivotal triage and preventative, there it is. There it is. And so I will look into that. That's my next evidence. I'll be looking up what areas are not getting COVID-19, like York County. As in the beginning, York County has the brown rings typical of manganese around the ceramics. In my friend's house, my beautiful friend's country house, they are cooking with manganese, natural water. Well water. Great. There's some filtering, but maybe not, as much as we get living in the big cities and New York City. Everyone says, New York's got the cleanest water. Well, if it doesn't have manganese in it, it's not the healthiest water, especially during the virus. So, okay. Are we starting to come together on some of this theory, hypothesis? It's a theory. It's theoretical at this point. So, great. So, we can, manganese enables enables the virus to replicate. Enables it. No manganese, no virus. Well, it might be the virus, but it's not going to do anything with us. Manganese unlocks. It cleaves the leader viral RNA and the tail. That's what I'm finding. Manganese is a part of it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a teeny tiny bit. Just a little bit. A little bit of manganese enables the virus. And we are dead. Especially if we have, glucose coming out the yin yang, and our immune system is wreaking havoc. Look at Semenza et al. The 2019 hypoxia causes all these problems. Those are the problems. Low oxygen. Okay, so and too many people are dying. Too many people are dying. So in this cohort, let's call it the I would definitely put the Hertz frequencies. I would definitely try to 171 hertz it and 176 hertz it. I would definitely try those frequencies. They do it through ultrasound, back of the lungs, and just bust it up, right? While, I'm not sure if when you're sick and the virus is all over, if giving manganese is going to just say, oh, right, now we've got all the manganese we need to take this system down. But if you don't have it, increased manganese, this is just a teeny bit, teeny tiny. But if you have lots of manganese, no COVID-19. It will not work. There are too many keys for the lock. All right. Oh, no. So that's my lecture for today. And I hope that I can start to work with more and more colleagues and scientists to at least, understand it. We kind of bailed on microcephaly in Northeast Brazil, looking at the transition metals in their drinking water from a overproducing gluttonous iron ore mining practices southwest on the top of the mountain that drains into their water supply. It was a 2-year record drought as they were just overproducing and just throwing their excess junk, iron and manganese, cloak it with aluminum, iron, manganese, aluminum, that once it rained, and the water seeped down into the drinking water, the metals seeped down into the sole drinking water source for Northeast Brazil. 9 months or so later, microcephaly. I've got a whole series of work on that. Oh, thank you for listening. It's hard work. It's grueling. It's unpaid for me. But there it is. It's science. It's great science. Doctors, researchers, can we please look at manganese? Not magnesium, manganese. Bolster our manganese. Get it back in the drinking water. I'll continue to look at the evidence. Where there's causation, all I keep finding is evidence. All right. Time for me to take a few deep breaths and give my dog barking. Cheers. Be well. I look forward to meeting a lot of you and talking about